Hello. I'm gonna play a chat for you, but to be completely honest, I can't get past my voice. It's terrible. I just have to. After this, I'm gonna go ahead and play it because the other guys are good, but I can't get past my issues. I gotta heal more before I can come back. I just can't take it. It's so frustrating. It's got me depressed. But I hope you enjoy the chat and you can take into consideration that I just got done beating cancer. And it's gonna be a while. It could be months. I don't know. I just, it's maddening. But I hope you enjoy the chat. I'll talk to you at the end. I don't know if this is ever gonna heal. I hope it does. But, man, oh man, is it ever taken the long way?
Yeah, going to take a while, I think, Greg. But you seem even, you sound even better than last week, even though.
I do?
So, yeah.
I sound better than last week?
Yeah, you say, your voice is better than it were last week, yeah.
Oh, good. Yeah, that's what I was hoping for.
Well, so you're making progress. That's pretty quick.
Yeah, no doubt. It's, maybe I'll go.
Please catalog.
Hold on. I'm looking for some kind of visual help here. And then we can get started. Okay. So I guess you think I sound better than last time?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Really? Well, that's darn good news.
Yeah, so you're making progress. I mean, I suppose, because I don't speak to you very often, you kind of, you can tell the difference between one time and the next, whereas if it's you personally, because your improvement is so gradual, you don't really notice it, over the space of a week. Whereas it's easy for me and Andy to spot that, so that's a good thing.
Yeah. Well, that's good. Yeah, because I'm starting to get really frustrated, and I just hope that it gets better. Because that doctor, he told me, I'm trying to share my screen. I don't know if I am or not.
Yeah, it's coming up.
Yeah.
It's coming up, Greg.
Okay. It's starting to get maddening because it just doesn't seem to be getting better. But if you say I sound better, that's good.
Yeah, definitely.
It's so gradual, I just don't notice it.
Yeah, that's it.
Greg,
So what have you Greg, on the screen?
Oh, wait a minute. What did you say, Andy?
I'd say probably the more you talk to us, the better it will get.
Yeah.
Because you're exercising.
Well, this is just some video that I have. Well, I hope that's true. But what do you guys... There's all kinds of stuff going on about that 3-eye Atlas comet.
Yeah.
Have you seen a lot of that?
I've watched some of it.
There seems to be a lot of speculation, doesn't there?
Yeah, they're wondering why it doesn't have a tail. And I saw the Electric Universe video on it. It was pretty good. Did you guys see it? Yeah. And then now I just saw a video. I haven't watched it yet, but it says something about there's some kind of intelligence inside. I don't know what they're talking about. What are they trying?
Oh yeah, it's this Avi Loeb. It's this guy Avi Loeb who's he keeps banging on about it's an alien. There's out of 10 out of 10 features of normal comets, this has 4, outstandingly separate types. and he thinks it might be an alien craft that's going.
Is that right?
Yeah.
I'm beginning. The
Uh,
alien craft. That's what they saw
well,
about that other one, that Umau Mao, too.
yeah, it's probably the same guy. I think probably. Uh, um, but I think when they and NASA, of course, NASA at the moment they're not collecting information on it, so it's all coming from the European Space Agency. Uh, so uh,
Sorry. That's what happens
yeah, it's,
when I drink coffee.
oh yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah, but
Uh,
Greg, I sent you that video that girl did on talking about, Planet Nine, Planet X,
Yeah.
and, Uber belts. And I reckon that's probably more the point than some alien spaceship, if you get what I mean.
Yeah.
Because before NASA was shut down with the American shutdown,
Uh-huh.
I sent you that video that girl did
Yeah.
talking about Planet Nine, right? And I tend to think it'd be more something like that than some alien spaceship,
Oh, yeah.
right? Because the size of it is very huge.
Yeah, it's pretty
You
big.
know,
No chance
there's a lot of speculation.
it's not going to hit Earth,
There's
right?
a lot of speculation. I don't know.
I haven't heard
well, I
anything.
think there's confusion as to what is plasma, where the plasma starts and the solid bits, where the plasma starts and the solid bit stops, and so how big the actual surface is. And then again, because the only imagery I've seen of that has been actually tracking the comet, so the stars kind of get stretched a little bit, all in the same direction, but so they're all kind of manipulated images, if you see what I'm trying to say.
Uh-huh.
Um, um,
Okay.
and so the actual ratio of the width to the length could be a matter of the speed it's going, with this and the camera, etc. But it seems to, yeah. So the actual, I think the actual satellite that's taking the photographs at the moment of the comet. Yeah, like I say, I think is it it's not Cassini, is it? That's a different mission.
Deep Impact?
Uh, I'm not sure.
What?
It's a
I think
European
it's one
Space
they've got,
Agency mission, though.
Ah.
and you've also got the one that we've got up there at the moment that's going around the sun and that doing data from the sun.
Uh-huh.
Well, it apparently in the next, either it's just been or in the next day or so, it will be like on a direct line between Earth and the sun, and also be able to see it apparently. But it's also about the fact that the sun's been creating these coronal holes as well, which would indicate that the sun.
Is it coming from another, like, is it from interstellar space? Or is it from our solar system?
Well, the weird thing about it is it seems to be on the same orbital plane as our planets. So it's that's quite.
The 3I stands for Third Interstellar Object.
Unusual in a comet.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so Andy, this Kuiper belt that Andy's just mentioned, that's meant to be kind of a circle of frozen rocks, way out at the end of the reach of the sun, really. And these
That's the theory.
these seem to occasionally peel off and form into comets, but I'm not exactly sure how that works.
Yeah.
But he thinks this is a Kuiper Belt object rather than a standard comet, which is slightly different.
Exactly.
Apparently, but
Yeah.
I can't. I gotta take off in about 4 minutes. So
Oh, okay. Well, what do you think of that comet? That 3-eye atlas?
yeah. Well, I mean, it's definitely different than most comets. I think that if it's an interstellar object, I think it is. I think comes like its trajectory suggests that it comes from outside, and its speed tells us that it's not going to be able to be captured by the solar system. So anytime anybody tells you that it's going to be captured or it's going to hit a planet, call out bullshit on it.
No, what they're saying is it could be a spaceship.
Yeah, I know. That's Avi Loeb's bullshit. Anytime anything comes from the outer solar system, he's calling it a fucking alien spaceship. No, it's not.
Yeah,
it's just a comet.
Yeah, that's what I just said. That Avi Loeb, he talks a load of nonsense as far as I can see.
And there are a bunch of scientists in that community that hate him for doing what he's doing.
Oh yeah, well, I would imagine.
But he's getting a lot of attention because of the programming that's been going on since the 50s about E.T.
Yep.
And everybody believing in E.T. now. So he's getting a lot of attention because he's yelling E.T. So people are stupid.
Yeah, they sure are. I mean, just look at all the people who celebrated when Charlie Kirk was murdered. I mean, you never see that 20, 30 years ago. Never see that.
No, you wouldn't. It's just taboo behaviour. It's just that no one would do something as despicable as that. You know, you'd be ashamed if anyone did something like that. Gloating over someone's been shot. It's disgusting.
Yeah, it is. It really is. But that's that hate seems to rule the world.
Yeah.
But I want to start doing this on a regular basis. Even though I can't talk, I gotta start having some new material. I can't just keep showing reruns. It's getting old.
You're talking fine. We can understand what you're saying, bro. Everybody can understand what you're saying. Just keep going and keep doing it, and things will hopefully get better.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping for. That one doctor kind of freaked me out. He said, well, once you've had chemo, you'll never be normal again. I'm like, what are they saying? You're saying that it might not heal? He's like, well, it's healing, but it's a chance you might have an impediment. And I said, oh, man, that's just what I need. You know? But,
yeah,
I mean, could have been worse, man. Could have been a lot worse. I've emerged so far good, but I gotta get my calorie intake up, and it's hard because every time I drink, I go through this litany of coughing, and it sucks.
Getting back to a little earlier, I noticed the guns are slowing down greatly in Palestine.
Oh.
It looks like there's some deal being done, and how long it lasts, whether it's any good or not, who knows? It does appear that there's something in the foot that'll halt the continuous bomb.
Yeah.
Now.
Yeah, but did you see what God
whether that comes from what happened, who knows?
It'll be rebuilt.
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, I just wish there was more peace. We got, there's so much hatred in the world today. I've never seen anything like it.
Yeah, well, it's been whipped up on purpose. That's what governments do sometimes, especially this one we've got in at the moment.
Yeah.
You know, they use racial division as a weapon, and religious division.
They use everything that they can to divide us, not just religion or race, sex, everything. Everything.
Yep.
You're right, Choco. Yep. You're correct there, Choco. Yep.
So while we let that system carry on, that's how it's going to be. I've been looking up sort of the foundations of moral and ethical systems. They date back to Aristotle. He developed a way, to kind of describe human values and where they come from.
Nick, can you hold that thought? I can't stay long, but I have something important to say to you guys and everybody listening.
Yeah, go on, Matt.
Go ahead.
Ben Hyde and Matt Finn, the creators of the Brainstorm, EU-based channel on YouTube here, are doing a geology tour in 2026 in Provo, in Utah. And they are thinking about restarting the conferences, the EU conferences.
Well, that would be good. They need that.
Yeah.
Bad. Yeah. Well, that's good news because I've been wondering for a while.
They're working on it, and they're talking to Susan and trying to set things up so that they can start having EU conferences again, and then geology tour after the conference.
Yeah, I really enjoyed those conferences. They always had a lot of good speakers. I learned so much from them,
Yeah, and that's the point where we're at, where they're looking at seeing ways of getting financing. There may be a call to do a one of those crowdfunding source things to see if they can get some money together to help pay for this, get this off the ground. So
yeah, it takes money to do everything.
I'll keep you guys updated.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, just let me know. Yeah, I don't mind at all giving us some exposure. I mean, what little bit I can.
You've been talking to Ito as well.
Yeah.
Ito Cal.
I don't know the person, but
you know Ito Cal, the guy that started SAM, the structured atomic model.
No, I'm not familiar with them.
Oh, brilliant! Go check out the structured atomic model.
I will. Yeah, it sounds interesting.
Yeah, it's really convincing, that model, to be honest. It's really very good work.
Yeah.
It is.
Since I've been going through this crap, I don't know. I haven't really been paying much attention to the world. And that's why I want to get back into it, because I can't just lay down for the rest of my life. I want to wait to heal. I want to get started. I want to get going. I can't do any narrating right now, but I can still have shows like this with you guys.
Yep.
There's a couple of people have been asking, when are you guys going to chat again? I'm like, soon, very soon.
Well, listen, guys, I gotta go. Right. Sorry, Greg, to interrupt, but I gotta go.
All right, Bob.
Have a good day. Have a good day, boys.
Take care.
Okay, Rick. See you in a bit.
Yeah, I listened to the last recording we made, and I sound like a drunk, but at least you can understand me.
Yeah, totally. Like I say, it's there's an improvement, definitely.
Man. Boy, I tell you guys what, it's a good thing I went in when I did, because they said I wouldn't have lived another month. So,
Wow.
yeah,
Yep.
that's what they said. And the radiation destroyed the tumor, but let me tell you, man, it burned the inside of my mouth, and it's taken its time. It's a radiation burn. That's what it is.
Yeah.
You know, so I don't know. It could take months. I just hope I get better because I can't live like this. It's hard to eat solid food. I have to drink and sure. And, you know, I'm doing fruit smoothies and soup and stuff that's really soft. But my tongue, man, as soon as I put food on my tongue, it starts burning. And that's gotta stop.
Yep.
I can't deal with that. So, yeah, I don't want to talk about myself, but I know a lot of people are interested, and they're probably like, why is he talking like that? So I want to make sure I let folks know that, you know, I had tongue cancer, and I'm on the heel, but who knows how long that's going to take. At least.
Yeah, but it's like I say, it's getting there. You know, that's it. It's just getting there.
I'm impatient. It's
Yeah.
been a while now. How long has it been, Angie? A couple of years? It's been a
Oh,
while.
yeah, it'd have to be close to 18 months.
Yeah.
It'd have to be 18 months. Yeah.
That's
It's not long after you got that tooth.
Not long
Remember
after.
those teeth?
Yep. I had this tooth problem. Then I had laryngitis.
Yep.
And then I woke up with a tumor on my neck. That was how it all started. And, well, hopefully we're on the downside. We're getting better, and I got to get my weight up and, you know, keep exercising. Man, my muscles, my arms look like pencils.
Mm-hmm.
I really lost a
Yeah.
lot.
Now here's something, Greg, that's a bit off topic.
Okay, go ahead. No.
So there's a group in Japan went through the human genome, and somehow or other they worked out that we're actually meant to be able to get 3 sets of teeth, not 2.
Yeah,
So now they've worked out some
3 sets of what?
Genetically
teeth.
All right.
So now they've worked out on all these studies using different mice and all that. And they're about to do real life trials on humans.
Wow.
See if what they've come up with, the sort of pill you'll take that will affect your DNA. We'll switch that on to get them to grow a new set of teeth.
Wow. I think it's going to be uber expensive at first, you know.
Yeah, it may be, but gee, it's going to be a lot better than what we've got now, isn't it? You get 3 shots at wrecking your teeth instead of 2.
Yeah, instead of 1.
Well, the dentist made sure the first time in this place, they used to drill kids' teeth when they went out wrong with the teeth because they said, well, they will have bad teeth, so we might as well drill them out now.
Oh,
because they were getting paid for it.
That's crazy.
Yep.
I never heard anything like that.
I think from what I could remember, I think this research came about from sharks, whales, how they're able to regrow teeth.
Yeah.
And especially now with whales, they were once land-based mammals.
Yeah.
You know, they were. And I think a lot of it came from looking at them and comparing with they are.
Yeah.
And that's where they went looking. So, yeah, no, it's interesting how...
You know, you wonder, you see all these politicians, you know, like in their 70s with perfect teeth. You know they got implants or caps or something.
Yeah.
Not everybody has perfect teeth, but on TV they do.
Yeah. I've got a few left, which is... Yeah.
Oh,
but, I mean, they don't want to.
You know, Valerie, you know...
I personally...
Valerie, who's in the chat all the time.
Yeah.
Well,
How is she?
Yeah.
she's got fibromyalgia,
Fucking hell. All right.
I guess she can't walk right now. She's in pretty bad shape, so all of our hearts and
Wow.
prayers go out to her. She's a good girl,
Yeah.
good person. My son and her are very good friends,
Yeah.
and she always
Oh
supports
well,
the channel.
that's terrible to hear that, Greg.
I know, I
You know,
know. And she's
send
only
well
like
that.
47. She's young.
Oh, yeah. Send me best wishes, and well, I mean, she won't. Well, I just yeah. Send me best wishes if whatever. I don't
Oh
know.
yeah. Well, she probably just heard you because she listens to the show. So
Oh, good.
yeah, she was in the hospital in ICU. I think she got out, and she's having a hard time. That's all. That's all I wanted to say. I just wanted to say I hope you get better, hon.
Yeah.
Yeah, and life is so short.
Yeah.
It goes by so
Yeah.
fast.
I'm
Man.
in tour myself at the moment. I'm having to. I'm just seeing doctors and X-rays and MRI scans and all this crap all day long. Every day I'm having to go somewhere else at the moment.
What's going on
Uh,
with you? You all right?
well, I'm still undergoing tests. That's why I've got to go to all these. I've got a urology department, a vascular department, X-ray department. So they've taken my blood, but some of the counts they think are off the scale. So they think there's a possibility of cancer somewhere, but
Oh,
I
shit.
haven't. No, it's all right. I mean, I feel all right. So
Yeah.
you know, um, so they're trying to find out what's causing it, basically. But I feel all right. It's just these blood tests are all
Yeah.
alarm bells have gone off,
Yeah.
So they'll get to the bottom of it anyway. I've got to go in. Well, yeah, I've got loads of doctor's appointments anyhow all over the place. So yeah, I mean, it does put it into perspective a little bit. I mean,
Yeah.
getting it, but at least I don't feel too ill. That's the main thing.
Well, that's good. I'm glad you're feeling good. And I know, Angie, you're always in the dirt like a farmer, so you're gonna live to be 100. That most farmers do.
Oh, I don't know It-
Yeah. Well, you're pretty healthy.
about that.
You're pretty healthy.
Well, you
Yeah.
try to be.
Yeah.
But yeah, we are getting older, and you've got to be a bit more careful.
Yeah.
Um,
That's right.
yeah, but getting back to that before, I'm not real keen on those teeth implants. At the end of the day, from what I understand, they're drilling stainless steel into your bloody bones in your jaw to put them in with,
Yeah.
and I often reckon that's a pathway for viruses and bacteria. So yeah, I'm not really sure on that. But this,
I agree with
Yeah.
you, Andy.
Yeah.
I've heard that when they put the rod into your jaw, that it can form a necrosis on the bone under the rod, and so that's kind of the bones rotting away, and then that kind of whatever's bacteria or virus or whatever gets into your stomach then and causes all sorts of illnesses.
I did not know that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So that's why I don't think them are a great idea. Implants. I don't like the idea myself. I don't.
Well, what they do is they implant like 4 teeth, and two in the top and two in the bottom, and then they wire like dentures to them, right? And that's how it
Right.
works.
Okay.
I think that's
Yeah.
how it works. I don't know, but I gotta do something, because once I get healed, I gotta take care of the next phase, and that is to be able to chew food again. They really screwed
Yeah.
me. They really messed me up, man.
What about those
The liver
sort of dentures you can get? Them plastic, the really good plastic ones that they look like real teeth, like
Oh,
when you put them on.
or like dentures.
Yeah, they just stick right
Yeah.
over your existing teeth, as far as I
Yeah.
can see it.
Oh, I know. I heard about them. I have a pair of dentures. I hate them, but
Yeah.
I wear them when I go out. You can't tell. you know. But
Yeah, that's it.
but you
Only
see,
problem.
I can't eat with them. I try. I can't. It's just barbaric. Food
Yeah.
gets all up underneath them and shit, and you got this big plastic piece on the roof of your
Yeah.
mouth. But yeah, I didn't expect this to happen, but it did, and fortunately, it didn't kill me. So now I just have to make do with the best I can. And thank God,
That's
so
right.
many people understand. It's just amazing
Yep.
how compassionate people are, and yet the hate rules the world. That's what I don't understand. It's not people; it's
Well,
governments.
I don't think it's hate. I think it's more greed and more where do I fit into the picture, and one day could I actually be rich? And I think people allow that to happen because they're doing okay or think they are. So they'll sit back and allow that to occur while they're doing okay.
Yeah,
That's my way of right. And it's not until something encroaches on them that they then realise, hey, this has been going on for a long time, and now I'm caught too.
yeah,
So yeah.
yeah. That's for sure,
But
Eddie.
anyway,
Yeah, but I think
uh,
it's governments.
Yeah, it
Governments,
is.
indoctrination, and
They've
all
turned
the
into a set of asset strippers. That's all they are now. They're all they are is interested in stripping people's assets. That's what
yeah,
these governments are now. They're completely parasitic. They don't do what they were designed to do. They don't follow any laws. What they were implicit on them.
yeah.
They're making their own shit up as they go along, and that's what's causing all this war and destruction.
You
And
got yep. I
they use
agree.
they use populations like little chess pieces, and don't give a shit about the people within those populations.
You think?
You know,
Yeah, I understand completely.
well,
Go ahead.
Nick, I think you've got the same problem, and I'm pretty sure the US has. We have politicians who so-called retire from politics or will get beaten in what was once a relatively safe seat. And next minute they lob up as a lobbyist and that for different things. So we've had people that have been defence ministers. We've got an ex-prime minister in the US, like running around lobbying for us to buy all sorts of missiles and stuff.
Yeah,
So
submarines, wasn't it? Yeah,
it's interesting how when they finish, you think, oh, yeah, he's done, got rid of him. No, instead of having him on the front page now, he's on page 2.
yeah,
Right? And he's actually directing people that are on page 1 now what they should be doing. And they actually listen to him instead of saying, mate, the people kicked you out or you retired, go away. No, they're there right in with it. And
yeah,
I think that's one of the biggest problems. Me, when you finish, you walk away, thanks, buddy, see you later, and go and do something else.
yeah,
It's just, well, you look at, the Arab states, I understand, aren't agreeing to the fact that with Palestine, the commissioner or the person they wanted in charge of peace process was Tony Blair. Now, I think that's getting a hell of a lot of kickback, from what I understand, and he probably
yeah.
will not
Well,
end up doing it. Now, Nick would agree with me. That's like putting the fox in there now, isn't it, Nick?
I mean,
Tony Blair.
well, it's
yeah,
what he's going to do. What he's going to do is he's going to put a surveillance system onto the people over there, and then transfer it onto the people in this country. And this country is going to turn into Palestine in a little while. That's what's going to happen.
yeah. I hope not, man. I'm pulling
I'm
for you
afraid
guys.
so. I'm afraid so. It's coming here. So,
It's terrible what's going on in Europe, but
well, they've designed to do it. They've designed to do it.
absolutely, absolutely. They want
They
in
want
white
to.
rule.
They want to make a unified states of Europe, which is a communist, basically a communist state, and bring all the wars. Rather than go and fight foreign wars, we can fight them right here, and so it's just going to be a continual state of war then, and that's all it'll be. This is how they plan to take control of Europe. You know, if they can destroy the last fabric of the English Constitution, they can then break England into these six separate states, 7 separate states, and integrate it directly into the EU. An English ethnicity is not allowed anymore, and it's under massive attack right now.
Well, there are a lot of people talking about it now. That's something you've never heard before. I mean, for some reason, you can't criticize Israel, the government, without being called an anti-Semite. That's starting to calm down. A lot of people are criticizing Israel now. And so there are some positive changes. The war against white people has been going on for at least 30 years. I remember when they used to talk about it on Red Ice Radio, and that they were on the cutting edge, and that was way back in the early, like mid-2000s. And they got banned from YouTube, actually. But
they're
now,
very good. Red Ice, yeah. I enjoyed
now
them.
people are saying that it seems to be just all pitted against white people. And I don't understand that. That's something that's beyond me, why they would do that. I mean, I'm not stating that it's happening, but there are many who are claiming it. What do you guys think about that?
Well, of course it is, and it's all part of this inclusion, diversity, and inclusion ethic, and so the whole idea of that is that us indigenous people have to bend over from backwards for everyone else, and we always come at the bottom of every queue, and that's the way it works. And that's the way it's been with representation. We've just had a systematic system of paedophiles that's run the British government for over 100 years now.
What is up with that? We got so many pedophiles we don't even know what to do with them all.
Yeah, that's right. And they're not even. So there's more people now getting put in prison for Facebook offences. Offences of what you say.
Some mother got 20 months.
And paedophiles are being released early.
Yeah.
As though it's nothing.
Yeah, some rapist or pedophile got 18 months, and the lady who wrote something on Facebook got 20, and she was her mother with no record. 20
That's right.
Months. Crazy. Just crazy.
That's right.
That's got to stop.
So, yeah, well, it's massive, really, and it's just the start of it. I mean, they're instituting Sharia law everywhere, which is completely illegal under our constitution, but not the British constitution, you see.
Yeah.
So these will do anything. These will do anything to control the situation without our consent. And that's who we've had people like that in power for a long time now.
Yeah.
And all these paedophiles extend to MI6 and all the intelligence units, and it was systematic right through the so-called public school system in Britain. The public school system was where rich guys paid the kids to go, who were brutalised, and many of them were basically homosexual by the time they finished the school days. They use these various torture systems, and they all had dirty secrets on each other. So these intrigues started when they were even schoolboys, and they then assumed the places of power. They all had dirt on each other,
Yes. Yes. That's how they work it. Yep.
That's how they've always worked it. So our actual representation in that House of Parliament is just about nil now. So we need big changes. We need to get our true Parliament back, representative one.
I think at some point you will, because I hear in Ireland they're not having it. They're fighting against it up there in Northern Ireland.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, so I guess Conor McGregor is running for president. That's pretty funny.
Well, I think he's got no chance. I mean, he's a complete idiot, the guy, unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, he's had his
but
brains beat in, so, and even when you win, you hit.
Beat out of his brains, he's blown with cocaine anyway,
Yeah, well, that's something. Every person that gets famous, they just seem to gravitate to homosexuality and drugs. I don't get it. But there's a lot I don't get. But, so I think you guys are going to get it together. I really do. I have a lot of faith. I think that you just need to get a conservative in there with traditional values to start doing something.
It's hard to find them though, Greg, like I say. So there is one in the, is it the Resist Party? I can't remember which one. He's called Rupert Law, and he's kind of on the ball. He's just released a sort of political manifesto for mass deportations. Trump as as per Trump.
Yeah.
And these are just the illegal ones that are here. He reckons there's about 1.8 million.
Wow.
Just illegal. But you see, for every what is it? There's I think we get 80,000 boat crossings per year that are illegal, but we also get 800,000 illegal ones on flights, who then after a while will claim, they get a job, and then after a few years they need to get on the dole, so they get in there anyway. They get housed. I mean, the British government at the moment's building surprise. They've got this surprise land deal going on. All of a sudden, they've taken a load of farmland and they're sticking 20,000 houses up there for just a city, just for the new incomes, just for the new people who are here. A new city for them. So that's what they're trying to do with this place.
Yeah.
They'll all be Muslims going into the new city, by the way, probably.
Well, when you go into a new country, you're supposed to assimilate, but people aren't doing that anymore.
Well, it's the other way, you see. We're meant to respect the laws of Islam now. There's this thing called Islamophobia.
Yeah.
That if you criticise anything about Islam, it's against the law.
Right. And that's that is a cop out. You need to be able to have
it's got to stop. This has got to stop. It's not a term. Islamophobia. You can't be scared of a bloody religion.
No.
But the only, so no one's scared of Islam. It's not an irrational fear of Islam. It's a complete invasion. That's all it is.
Yeah.
Islamophobia is that's a government term.
Right.
To stop discussion,
But here's the thing: you say they're bringing them in by flights. Who's putting them on them flights? They just emptying every country out.
Well, what happens is they'll get a study visa and enroll at a college somewhere for 6 months, and then they won't necessarily show up to the college. But then, as soon as they're in there, they'll apply for the wife and kids to come over, or the cousin or the sister, close family, because that's allowed under British law now. So they bring in all their extended family over just on one holiday visa, and after a little while, they get onto the council housing lists, and there's an whole family of them that just they get free everything. Then healthcare, housing, education,
Same here. Yeah.
everything.
Yeah,
Which,
illegal immigrants feel better than citizens.
which we've paid for, and we don't get any of that
Right.
because it all goes to them.
Yeah, that crap has to
So
stop, man. It's going on
yeah,
everywhere, it seems like. Trump's
So
getting rid of them. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And I really hope. I really hope he's the only one who can help us back here, really. And he's even mentioned the English Constitution himself, so he knows what the route is, the legal route.
Yeah.
It's this British. It's this British layer to our government, which is so corrupt, it's filth.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that all needs to go.
Most governments are.
Yeah.
So let me ask you before, we're going to call it at an hour, so, because we're going to do this regularly. But what do you guys think of the Charlie Kirk assassination? Do you think it was do you think that kid took him out, or do you think that was a hit?
There was something very strange going on with that hit.
Absolutely. I agree.
The bullet, etc., isn't what they're saying it is.
No.
I think there was at least one. I think there were more than one people involved in that attack.
Yeah. I do too.
And they were using a technology that's undisclosed.
They had to be using something.
It could have been anything.
Yeah.
It might have been a laser beam. Who knows? It could have been anything.
Greg, my view on that is this. Let's see one if he gets to trial.
Yeah.
Because there's always a chance if they don't.
Yeah.
Then when he gets to trial, let's see if he has a good legal team or some backyard one. Right?
Right.
Because he's arguing now, I'm not guilty, I never did it.
Right.
So if he's got a good legal team, I'll put up a really good case that'll make sure that the FBI and that have to have all their T's and I's fixed.
Yeah.
So I think the only real way is to wait for the trial and see what sort of representation he's got and what goes on there. But I've always said since day one when they started showing the photos of him going up the steps and down the steps, that didn't seem to me the same person twice.
No,
I might be wrong. I might be wrong. And Chris Masterson did a bit on it a couple of weeks ago, and they were coming up with, well, there's a lot of blanks in here with regards to the dismantling of the gun, the re-putting the gun back together.
Yeah. And,
all that sort of stuff.
And then Candace Owens, I'm sure you know who she is.
Yeah.
She's got receipts.
Yeah.
She's showing texts she sent that he was abandoning the pro-Israel cause because of the way he was treated, and that he was fearing for his life. The day before he was killed, he texted 3 people and told them that he thinks they're going to kill me. He didn't say who they are, but he was under a lot of stress.
Yep.
And
I've got an article here that said the equivalent of a LaRoche. Special.
I just think
I don't know who wrote.
There's a lot more MCI.
Well, hang on a minute. There's 2 things that I've in this article that I've got that I think has come out of the US. All right, Washington Insider. That's where it comes from. Now, who's Washington Insider? So there was a bit whereby, yes, he started questioning what was going on in Palestine, but apparently the Ukrainian government, they really disliked him. Right? from the time he found the turning point.
Oh, okay. Yeah. See, I didn't know him.
So,
I didn't know him very
so
well.
he the UN agency practically gloating, describing Kirk as a leading anti-Ukrainian voice.
Wow.
It should be noted that he's about Ukraine.
Ah, okay.
Oh well, so there's a lot of money. There's a lot of their crooks' money riding on whether they get funding for the war, innit?
Yeah. This got a lot of stuff figures into it. Yeah, that's for sure.
Yep.
Well, is there anything new that you guys have heard that's going on with the Electric Universe? Not to change subjects, but a lot of people are talking about that.
Well, not really. Not really.
Yeah, I haven't.
Not that I can think of.
I've watched the
Well, I'm watching
videos.
that Comet one.
Yeah, the Comet.
Other than
That's about it.
that, yeah, you might get some good volcanoes out of that too eventually.
Yeah, well, they never say if it's going to come close to Earth or not. I guess it's not.
Oh, I'll tell you what, I've got something up here on my computer about this, Greg. Shall I read it out to you?
Okay.
All right. Between 1st and 7th of October, ESA's ExoMars Trace Gas Orbiter, TGO, and Mars Express spacecraft turned their eyes towards interstellar Comet 3I Atlas as it passed close to Mars. The two Mars orbiters had the closest view of the comet of all to see if they can spot the faint comet.
He's back.
They also. Shall I carry on a little?
The problem is that most of what you read, your mic cut out, and I could barely hear you.
Have you not been able to hear? No.
No, it was so low. It sounded like you were mumbling. So
well.
Sounded like you're.
Just carry on.
Sounded like you're a long way from the mic.
Oh, I've got the phone right up to me.
Yeah, we can hear you fine now, but you cut out.
I must have had it too close to me. I must have been talking it too close into the phone.
Yeah.
Is that better?
Yes, much better.
All right, okay.
That's good now.
Sorry about that.
Yeah. Well, go ahead. Just carry on.
Okay. Scientists will continue to analyse the data from both orbiters, including adding together several images from Mars Express to see if they can spot the faint comet. They also tried to measure the spectrum of light from Comet 3I Atlas using Mars Express's Omega and SpyCam spectrometers and ExoMars TGO NOMAD spectrometer. At this point, it is uncertain whether the comet and tail were bright enough for a spectral characterization. Scientists will keep analysing the data over the next weeks and months to try to figure out more about what 3I Atlas is made of and how it is behaving as it approaches the Sun. Colin Wilson, Mars Express and ExoMars project scientist at ESA, says so ESA is the European equivalent of NASA.
Yeah.
Though our Mars orbiters continue to make impressive contributions to Mars science, it's always extra exciting to see them responding to unexpected situations like this one. I look forward to seeing what the data reveals following further analysis. Originating from outside our solar system, Comet 3I Atlas is only the third interstellar comet ever seen, following Oumuamua in 2017 and Borisov in 2019. These comets are absolutely foreign. Now, this is what they're saying anyway. Every planet, moon, asteroid, comet, and life form in our solar system share a common origin, but interstellar comets are true outsiders, carrying clues about the formation of worlds far beyond our own. Comet 3I Atlas was first spotted on the 1st of July 25 by the Asteroid Terrestrial Impact Last Alert System, ATLAS, telescope in Rio Hafado, Chile. Since then, astronomers have used ground-based and space telescopes to monitor its progress and discover more about it. Based on its trajectory, astronomers suspect the 3I Atlas could be the oldest comet ever observed. it may be 3 billion years older than the solar system, which is already 4.6 billion years old.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, they're making pretty definite assumptions here, I think.
Oh, of course, yes. You see, that's the thing. They got every science jacked up to what people believe is false. We know it's an electric universe.
Right, well, here we are, what's coming next anyhow, Greg. Next month, we will observe the comet with our Jupiter Icy Moons Explorer, JUICE. Through JUICE, though JUICE will be further from 3i Atlas than our Mars orbiters were last week, it will see the comet just after its closest approach to the Sun, meaning that it will be in a more active state. We don't expect to receive data from JUICE observations until February 2026.
Okay. Well, that was good. Thank you, Nick. Thank you. Because that's something I wanted to know more about. So it doesn't seem like it's going to get close to Earth. We must be on the other side of the sun or something.
We cross paths, but it's a fair way off, if you get what I mean. We could get some weather changes and things from it, but as far as it being close enough to Earth, really cause a problem. Unless something big happens, that isn't going to happen.
Yeah. So it's just something that's interesting.
Well, it's very interesting because I mean it's letting out gas signatures which are quite unusual, and these fit in with sort of plasma conversion going on with certain elements. It'd be interesting to see how this compares with that structured atomic model, but I bet that explains some of what these outgassing products are. And of course, the water could actually be produced from a piezoelectric effect, the pressure on the crystalline core of the comet.
Yeah.
So I mean, it is fitting in with everything that they. I think they described it in the Electric Universe in the last a week or two ago, and it corresponds to all that totally.
So I watched the video. It's very good. Yeah. Well, we're gonna call it, guys. Let's call it, and we'll set up another one. How about Sunday morning?
Yeah, just give us a ring if I'm around. I'm into it, Greg.
Okay. So I want to do this 1 or 2 times a week from now on. Okay.
Okay, pal.
I love talking to you guys. So let's get back together Sunday morning.
Okay, yeah, great stuff.
We're gonna have to get it. We're gonna have to keep up with everything.
Yes, we're going to start having to keep up with everything. That's right. Yep.
That's 31. Still one that's floating around. There's another one too somewhere that they're not talking about at the moment.
Oh, a comet?
Oh, I'm not sure whether it's a comet or what it is, but there is something else floating around too.
Oh.
But it's not getting much mention.
I'll have to dig around, see what I can find. Yeah.
All right, then, no worries, Greg.
All right, boys. Well, get yourself some sleep. What?
All right. Cheers, guys.
For some reason, you can't criticize Israel, the government.
Saturn's Golden Age, the age that man later called the Age of Kronos, is remembered with nostalgia as an age of bliss. References to the Age of Kronos in ancient lore are very numerous. Hesiod tells of a golden race of mortal men who lived in the time of Kronos when he was reigning in heaven, and they lived like gods, without sorrow of heart, remote and free from toil. miserable age rested not on them. The fruitful earth unforced bare them fruit abundantly, and without stint. They dwelt in ease and peace upon their lands, with many good things. Similarly, writes Ovid in the 6th book of his Metamorphoses, in the beginning was the Golden Age, when men of their own accord, without threat of punishment, without laws, maintained good faith, and did what was right. The earth itself, without compulsion, untouched by the hoe, unfurrowed by any share, produced all things spontaneously. It was a season of everlasting spring. Rabbinical sources recount that men lived under very favorable conditions before the deluge, and that these contributed to their sinfulness. They knew neither toil nor care, and as a consequence of their extraordinary prosperity, they grew insolent. The dominance of Saturn at some remote period in the history of life of the peoples on Earth was of such pronounced and all-pervading character that the question arises whether the adventures of the planet going through many exploits could by itself be the full cause of the worship of the planet and the naming of the Golden Age, the age of Kronos, Saturn. Saturn exploded and caused the Earth to go through the greatest of its historical catastrophes, and this was completely sufficient to make of Saturn the supreme deity. But it appears that the age of Saturn is a name for the epoch before the deluge. After the deluge, Saturn, dismembered, almost ceased to exist as a planetary body, and when at length it was reconstituted, it was fettered by rings, and was far from being the dominant celestial body that would behoove it as the supreme deity of the epoch. The age of Kronos is so glorious an age that it is hardly thinkable to connect it with the period after the deluge. The wailing for Adonis, Tammuz of the Babylonians, or Osiris of the Egyptians, deplored the end of its dominance, not the beginning of it. Then why was Saturn the supreme deity by whose name the great and glorious age before the deluge was named? Because it removed Uranus from its role of chief deity, and to the onlookers on Earth emasculated him. If the distances between the Earth and Saturn and Uranus were then what they are now, then such occurrences could scarcely be observable. Uranus is only faintly visible in the night sky over Mesopotamia in a most translucent night. Saturn is clearly visible, but is not, for an unaided eye, a spectacle in the sky. It was more voluminous and more luminous before the deluge, but if it moved on an orbit not too different from the present one, and Earth were moving approximately in the same quarters where it moves today, then the surprise still persists as how a body on a 30-year-long orbit could make the inhabitants of the Earth on its 1-year-long orbit regard it as the supreme of all celestial bodies in the sky. The appellative sun employed for Saturn could be explained by its unusual brightness when it exploded as a nova for a short time, actually for 7 days before the beginning of the deluge on Earth, assuming the length of the day in those times to have been not too dissimilar from its present value, the velocity of the moving masses being in the order of 100 kilometers a second, or 8,600,000 kilometers in a 24-hour period, and the Earth and Saturn being on the closest points of their reciprocal orbits, or in conjunction, which is another surmise. In 7 days, a distance of circa 60 million kilometers would be covered. On present orbits, the distance between Saturn and Earth varies from 1,279 million kilometers at superior conjunction and 1,578 million kilometers at opposition. The lesser of these distances is circa 21 times greater than that above calculated. This means also that unless the velocity of the ejected water was an order of magnitude greater than 100 kilometers per second, the distance between Saturn and Earth must have been substantially smaller than it is at present. I have rather arbitrarily selected a figure of 100 kilometers a second for the motion of the exploded material. Today, the escape velocity, or the speed required for a projectile on the surface of Saturn to leave the gravitational attraction of the planet, is but 35 kilometers a second. For Jupiter, the escape velocity is 59 kilometers a second. Assuming that Saturn was a mass equal to that of Jupiter, the same figure would apply to it too. With 100 kilometers a second, we have almost double the velocity of escape. The arbitrariness of the assumption of such velocity for our calculations is obvious, but if the set of figures is not too far from what they actually were, the conclusion would be that of Earth from Saturn was but a 20th part of what it is now. This would permit us to speculate whether Earth could, at some early period, have been a satellite of Saturn. The distance, 60 million kilometers, is commensurate with the distance of Mercury from the Sun, or 58 million kilometers. Jupiter's satellites revolve at distances up to 24 million kilometers from the primary. Theoretically, Saturn could have satellites as large as the Earth. The Moon is only 1/40th of the Earth in volume, whereas Saturn is 760 times larger than our planet. If such was ever the case, the age of Saturn, and the very unusual conditions under which mankind lived in it, and Saturn's worship prior to the deluge, would gain in meaning. The appellative sun used for Saturn would be understood as resulting not only from the great light it emitted for a short period when a nova, but also from its long-standing role of a primary for the revolving Earth. If there is truth in the surmise, and nothing more it is than a surmise, that the Earth was once a satellite of Saturn, the latter must have revolved closer to the Sun in order that the Earth should receive heat from it. Saturn exudes little heat, and if the age of Kronos was a golden age, then it is also proper to assume that the conditions on the satellite Earth were not unfavorable for life. The geological record documents extreme climates for the past of the Earth. Times when corals grew in the Arctic, and times when the Earth, partly even on the equator, was fettered by ice. Such climates require definitely abnormal conditions that could be created only by varying positions of our planet as an astronomical body. Therefore, surmises as made in this section are not in conflict with geological and paleoclimatological records. Yet it is not what could have taken place, but what took place, or the historical record that is the proper goal for inquest. In the absence of direct indications, we may only deal with the problem of the Earth as a satellite of Saturn as a hypothetical construction, requiring further elucidation. It is assumed by modern astronomy that the ninth planet, Pluto, was once a satellite of Neptune, which, having collided with Triton, another satellite of the planet, was thrown out of the ring and became an independent planet. The satellite Triton, however, as a consequence of the collision, reversed the direction of its revolution and became a retrograde satellite. Another instance of a postulated conversion of a planetary satellite into an independent planet is discussed by Van Flandern and Harrington in their paper A Dynamical Investigation of the Conjecture that Mercury is an Escaped Satellite of Venus. Thus, the principle of a conversion of a satellite into a planet in its own right is not a phenomenon that is discussed here for the first time. The golden age of Saturn, or Kronos, came to its end when the supreme god of that period, the planet Saturn, was broken up. The age of Kronos was not the earliest age of which man retained some, however, dim memories, but farther into the past, the dimness amounts almost to darkness. every time. The Saturn Theory by E.V. Cochran. The Saturn Theory, in addition to presenting a comprehensive model of ancient myth, offers a radically different approach to understanding the recent history of the solar system. Briefly, the theory posits that the neighboring planets only recently settled into their current orbits, the Earth formerly being involved in a unique planetary configuration of sorts, together with Saturn, Venus, and Mars. As the terrestrial skywatcher looked upwards, he saw a spectacular and awe-inspiring apparition dominating the celestial landscape. At the heart of heaven, the massive comprising Dinosaurus, Atlantis, and the reign of the giants. The Moon and History. A new picture of the universe is being created by science during our own lifetime. And this picture, which we usually accept without question and how, is much more incomprehensible and incredible even than that provided by any previous mythology. The astronomical universe is measured in thousands of millions of light years. The number, not of stars, but of galaxies, of which the Milky Way is one, reaches the 1,000 millions too. At the opposite end of the scale, the atom has become a very complicated cosmos in which exists a space infinitesimally small to us, which is practically a vacuum, and yet is charged with forces of such explosive power that a single atom could by its deflagration explode the entire Earth. Amazing. Man too, or rather his history, has been affected by this megalomania. He is now at least 500,000 years old, perhaps 1,000,000 years old, according to some very sober scientists, as much as 15 million years old, according to less sober ones, who nevertheless may be proved right within a few decades. And man's habitation to Earth has become much more mysterious than it used to be. We thought some 50 years ago, now this was written in 57, so we're more than 50 years past him. We thought some 50 years ago that we knew something about it, but nearly all that former assurance has gone. The central fire, which so strangely resembled the physical hell of various religions, and so impressed us at our Jules Verne stage, has by now abated its fury. We are told that it is hardly hotter than a comfortable wood fire. Speculations about changes in the Earth's surface and man's habitation, the Earth has become much more mysterious than it used to be. We thought some 50 years ago that we knew something about it, but nearly all the former assurance has gone. The central fire, which so strangely resembled the physical hell of various religions and so impressed us at our Jules Verne stage. I like to read things twice. Speculations about changes in the Earth's surface, drifting continents, sensational destruction of whole areas of the world, shifting poles have degenerated. It is true. From the rank of specific theories to the lower status of myths. Oh, get out of here. Myths are history, man. Wake up. That's what academians, they've taught us to emote at certain words that we hear, but are nevertheless kept in reserve as possible explanations if no better ones should be found. The idea of certainty has been dropped. Nothing is sure, and anything is possible. We know that's true. 2 centuries of scientific sobriety have somewhat inhabited the human imagination, no doubt. But the new possibilities opening out at the moment create exceedingly and even excessively favorable condition for flights of fancy. Well, yes, that is fun. Speculating. Using your imagination. Some people they don't like to use it, or they're afraid to because they think it makes them feel silly or they'll be criticized. Don't ever feel that way. Always use your imagination, because we can use it as a barometer. Yet human imagination is perhaps steadier than science itself, and it tends not so much to create new pictures as to bring forward again and again in new forms very ancient schemes to which man seems to be attached from his beginnings. Thus, 2 of our most cherished traditions, Plato's story of Atlantis and the creation and deluge story from the Bible, have again become scientifically credible. In the first place, a new cosmogony, that of the electric universe. No, it doesn't say that. It should. Austrian Horbiger gives an acceptable explanation both of Atlantis and of certain puzzling biblical passages, particularly those mentioning giants. It is true that Horbiger's, there's a name, theories are not generally accepted by scientists. Oh, he's one of those guys. Velikovsky. What is heterodox today? Heterodox today may easily be purest orthodoxy tomorrow. Yes, absolutely. It has happened before. Recently, ethnography sometimes supports, in a most unexpected way, both Horbinger's theories and the statements in Genesis, and the ethnographic testimony, as well as that from the earliest literary sources, becomes the more impressive the more fully it is examined. Lastly, certain theories of present-day psychology, curiously paralleled by some recent bold concepts in biology, are oddly in harmony with some of the most ancient traditions. These different elements placed together present so strange and so new a picture, for all its familiar aspects, that it seems better to bring first before the reader a complete general outline, and to come later to confirm action or proof. These different elements placed together present so strange and so new a picture for all its familiar aspects that it seems better to bring first action or proof. The more especially since full confirmation and full proof are, let it be admitted at once, sometimes lacking. Some gaps in the picture cannot, by the very nature of things, be filled, and all we can plead for is, in Coleridge's words, a willing suspension of disbelief. But it is well worth, while making that effort, for it will provide a perspective otherwise unattainable, and it will open the door to dreams. A most unscientific thing to do, perhaps, but a very human one, and one which satisfies a very deep-rooted human desire. Megalomania has affected both astronomy and physics. And how? How could history have escaped? Absolutely, and that's amazing that he says that back in 1957. I'm amazed that other people aren't saying that. Most people in their realm, my realm is messed up, but all the other realms are good. No. They're all messed up. If galaxies are numbered by the milliard, is a word, if one atom can create or destroy a world, cannot man be given a few more million years on the earth? Come to think of it, they've dumbed down everything, haven't they? Page 3. Here then is the picture derived from H.S. Bellamy's fascinating volumes published by Faber and Faber from 1936 onwards. Moons, Myths, and Men, built before the flood. The Book of Revelation is history. The Atlantis myth, a life history of our Earth. The ancient myths are history. I believe that Bellamy's chief contribution to horror-bigorinism is like a Velikovsky of the 19th century. Velikovskyism is the field of ethnography. Folk beliefs all over the Earth confirm Horbinger's theories. My own addition is the hypothesis of the civilization of the giants as the origin of our much more recent civilizations. In 1956, H.S. Bellamy and P. Allen published The Calendar of Tiwanaku, a thorough and most convincing explanation of the famous calendar. I find it impossible not to accept, at the very least, the general principles of their theory, but the possible solution of the Datation problem has become very fluid. Some 30,000 years ago, a highly developed civilization, utterly different from our own, was flourishing in the Andes, at 12,000 or 14,000 feet above the present level of the Pacific Ocean. While I know that corn cannot grow at that elevation, they think that that is a recent lifting, probably, like Ramon says, from the moon. If the moon was the last body that had a close call with the Earth. You can take your pick. Venus, Earth, Moon, Saturn, Jupiter. They were all here. Some 30,000 years ago, a highly developed civilization, utterly different from our own, was flourishing in the Andes at 12 to 14,000 feet above the present level of the Pacific Ocean. At that period, the sea there reached the height, and the Tiwanaku civilization was on a seashore. The air was at a density normal for human beings, whereas now it is thin and nearly unbreathable. Yeah, they got to be hardy to live up there. I don't think that anybody lives up there. They just go up there. How did all this happen? I wonder if they ever did meet. Round the Earth there revolved, I'm sure he might have read Worlds in Collision. Round the Earth there revolved a satellite in some ways comparable to our present moon, which was not then there. Though smaller than the moon is, at a distance of 5 to 6 Earth radii. Nowadays the tides rise and fall because our present moon is some 60 times the length of the Earth's radius, some 240,000 miles away from us, and takes a completely long time to revolve around the Earth. How did all this happen? Around the Earth there revolved a satellite, in some ways comparable to our present moon, which was not... Oh, I already read all that. Come on, dude. Nowadays the tides rise and fall because our present moon is something... I hate myself. Some 240,000 miles away from us, and it takes a comparatively long time to revolve around the Earth. But the Chirchari moon, being by then much nearer, revolved much more quickly, and the waters attracted by its pole had no time to recede. A permanent tide kept all waters of the Earth accumulated in a great bulge right around the planet, roughly between the tropics. In the Andes, this bulge was more than 12,000 feet high. To prove, there is a line of sediment which can be followed for nearly 400 miles. A permanent tide kept all the waters of the Earth accumulated in a great bulge. Okay. From this civilization, ruins of gigantic size remain all around the lake of Titicaca. In particular at Tiwanaku. I did not know that. And the earliest South American chronicles tell us that when the Incas arrived there, they discovered the ruins in very much the same state as they are in today and judged them to be of immeasurable antiquity And they were scared to write on it, too. The Egyptians didn't go near that place with the writing tools. Being superstitious, they left them untouched and found no settlements near them. Indeed, I picked that up right away. Even today there exists on the lake the remnants of an ancient people, the Urus. They live in a state of uttermost degradation, and they do not claim even to be men, but they do claim to have been here since long before men, properly so-called, arrived, and they trace their descent to the time when gigantic statues were erected. In this assessment, the neighboring Indian tribes concur. Now, you want to talk about some wild myths. The Native American tribes, I mean, they got ant people, but there's got to be something to it. All myths have some kind of truth. The dressed or sculptured blocks of stone, round and Titicaca, are in many ways unique. One of the many monolithic statues weighs 20 tons and is 25 feet high. Some walls are monolithic too. Instead of the stones being arranged so as to leave openings, we find apertures, doors, or windows cut through the immense wall made from one huge stone. That is nothing short of amazing. The builders were the masters of methods, both of cutting and of transporting stone, which have since been lost completely. Yeah, they seem to cut through it like butter too. And then there's those tire tracks. You know, they look like tire tracks. There's so many enigmatic things on the earth. That's what makes it so damn fun. On the cultural and intellectual achievements of these people, we have some information. In 1937, the reliefs on one of the doorways were deciphered as a calendar much better devised than ours today. It begins at a solstice, and it is divided by solstice and equinox. It's 12 months, and its weeks correspond to periods of the revolution of the satellite, the real as well as the apparent revolution. Astronomically speaking, our own calendar begins nowhere. Our months and weeks have very little to do with the phases of the moon. And as a rule, we do not even realize that our moon has an apparent motion in the sky, which is quite different from the real one. You keep saying the real one. Hope he dissolves the mystique there. I want to know what that is. Artistically, Tiwanaku statues are superb. The finish of the work, the harmony in the proportions, the power of the expression in the faces are evidence of aesthetic achievement on the highest level. Horbinger's theories, in fact, lead on to an altogether astounding idea. The idea of a race of men of gigantic size, some 12 to 15 feet high, as the only possible creators of those wonders. So far as I know, neither Horbinger nor Bellamy has developed this hypothesis at any length, but from their theories it seems an inevitable deduction, aka intuitively obvious. The moon is not the first satellite to go around the Earth. Each of the geological eras had its own. And these periods are sharply distinct, one from the other, because at the end of each, and that is what brought it to an end, its satellite crashed on the Earth. The moon travels around the Earth, not in a closed ellipse, but in a diminishing spiral. And this decreasing orbit will, in the end, some 15 million years hence, according to Horbiger, cause it to crash in its turn. Thus, a primary moon has already crashed, and a secondary moon, and a tertiary moon. But before reaching the Earth, each satellite disintegrated. Solids, liquids, and gases, offer different resistances to gravitation and to the forces of movement, and they separated as tails separate or lag behind comets. The main body of the satellite, in its excessive speed, caught up with its own tail, and thus became a ring around the Earth, just as there are rings around Saturn now. While the rings around Saturn are expulsion rings from when it dumped Earth with its water and salt, Earth did have rings at one time. That is true. And, he's flirting with Saturn theory and doesn't even know it. I wonder if he knew about it, if it would change anything. Well, he's dead now, but Xavier, I wonder if he knows about it. Then the spiral coming to its end, the ring closed on the Earth, and the substance of the satellite settled in a circular formation around the surface of our planet. The heavier portions digging themselves into a considerable depth. All living beings caught in those events or the subsequent disturbances become fossilized. Let me read that again. Then the spiral coming to its end, the ring closed on the Earth, and the substance of the satellite settled in a circular formation round the surface of our planet, the heavier portions digging themselves into a considerable depth. All living beings caught in those events or the subsequent disturbances become fossilized. For fossils were created only during those periods. What, when they were burying themselves? No, I think fossils are caused by electricity and were produced by extraordinary pressures or changes. An organism, plant, or animal buried normally today does not fossilize. It rots away. Thus, fossils provide only very fragmentary evidence of the past, and the record they present is highly incomplete. Right. When you bury something, it's airtight, but it degrades. But long before the final crash, and during periods which may last for thousands of years, the satellite circles the Earth at a distance of 16,000 to 24,000 miles in a fairly regular manner, because the lunar month is then equal to the earthly day. The two bodies, planet and satellite, go round together until the fall of the satellite is accelerated, and it revolves quicker around the Earth. During these long periods before the fixation, during and after it, the weight of all those objects and beings on the Earth is greatly diminished, and the accelerated rotation of the Earth throws them outwards. Gravitation is what gives us our height. We grow to the stature and the weight that we can carry. Therefore, during these periods of the proximity of the moon, all organisms grew much taller. Giants are produced. Gigantic plants, gigantic animals, gigantic men. End of part 1. The Moon, Part 2. But when the moon has crashed, their weight, no longer reduced by upward gravitation, becomes a heavy drag and a handicap. The giants have great difficulty in carrying their enormous bodies, and they rapidly degenerate and disappear. We know Ted Holden equated the gravity with the dinosaurs, so we know that it was less. Proofs? ? Well, the dinosaurs, for one. From the end of the primary period, we find gigantic plants, which, buried at the fall of the satellite, became coal. At the end of the secondary period, we find fossilized animals, as much as 100 feet long. Perhaps, too, there were gigantic mammals. Okay, so this guy was talking about it in 1957. Perhaps even some pre-human being, relieved of much of its weight, stood on its hind legs, enlarged its cranium, and expanded its brains, and became a gigantic man. Other beasts learnt how to fly, gigantic insects at the end of the primary period, birds in the secondary. From the asatellite periods, I'm still not sure about that right now, specimens survive only of such creatures as could adapt themselves to the new gravitation, or of such as could and did reduce their size. Let us remember, too, that smaller races from regions not under the tropical course of the satellite could then reinvade the whole Earth. During the Tertiary area, according to P. Allen, Horbiger counted the Pleistocene in with the Tertiary era, before the coming of the third moon. Smaller men may have emerged, smaller, heavier, less intelligent, our ancestors. But the giant races from the end of the secondary period, perhaps 15 million years ago, still lived on, and the giants civilized the small men. Ancient mythology. From Egypt to Greece to Scandinavia, from Polynesia to Mexico, unanimously affirms that men have been civilized by giants and gods. Prometheus started human civilization. The Bible bears witness to the existence of giant beings ruling over the Palestinian tribes, routed by the Hebrews. So it says, read that again. The Bible bears witness to the existence of giant beings ruling over the Palestinian tribes routed by the Hebrews. Just wanted to make sure it wasn't Palestinian. They do sound similar. Whoa, I just had a crazy thought. Hence, Tiwanaku, gigantic monoliths beyond human management, yet of a size made for men to use. Giant masters helped and directed smaller men to build those monuments. The great amphitheaters are not covered over. Giant beings could sit in them among small men, their subjects. This first reign of the giant beings was benevolent. All ancient records agree about a golden age under the gods, and some of the faces of the Tiwanaku statues are marked with superhuman intelligence and goodness. Those gigantic statues are statues of the giant beings, probably life-size, or only slightly bigger. Why should men exhaust themselves in setting such things up? It is more likely are statues of the giant beings, probably life-size, or only slightly bigger. Why should men exhaust themselves in setting up such things? It is more likely that the giants themselves are the artists. The Bible says that they were. Later on in Egypt and in many other places, once the giants had disappeared, men strained their feeble powers in trying to resuscitate the gods of the Golden Age. We have found recently in the islands around New Guinea unfortunate savages who still put up gigantic statues, dolmens, and menhirs. No, I'm not familiar with that word, menhirs, without knowing why, just as our own ancestors no doubt did. For the golden age of the giants came to an end. At its appointed time, the tertiary moon crashed to Earth, and lunar gravitation ceased. The Andes emerged from beneath the sea. The great bulge of waters round the tropics disappeared. The released seas swept the Earth from one pole to the other. Everywhere, men and civilizations perished, until at last the waters found the level which is still more or less their level today. From this vast cataclysm, what men were left? Plato tells us only scattered pockets of refugees in the high mountains, only a few isolated small tribes in the Andes, where formerly a great civilization had flourished. The air became too rarefied for normal human existence. With the recession of the sea, a seafaring civilization was annihilated. Its few survivors, stranded on the marshes, left by the receding waters, their world had vanished forever. Their ships, their intricate scientific instruments, their priests and their learned men, their towns had dissolved. And round Lake Titicaca, there is still to be seen the evidence of hurried and panic-stricken evacuation. Civilization had to start again from the very beginning. Seen in this context, mythology becomes meaningful and a key to unlock the riddles of prehistory. Some of the giant races degenerated into cannibals. There are ogres in all ancient folklores, from the Odyssey onwards. Others retain some vestiges of their ancient civilization, of its intelligence and its benevolence. And in all ancient folklores, there are wars between the giants and the gods. Men naturally called gods those great figures that protected them. One of the oldest of all gods is Hercules, both in Greece and in Egypt, the good giant who is man's protector.
against all evil things bigger than life size. To conquer the Titans, even Jupiter himself needed the help of Hercules. Later, the giants degenerated physically. There was no moon now to help them carry extra flesh and bone, and their brains, too, grew sluggish and weak. Against the bows and slings of ordinary men, these cretinous monsters were helpless. David killed Goliath. Thus, we reach the dawn of our history, some 6,000 or 7,000 years ago. Really, I can see that, David really murdered Goliath, and, the whole story was on him beating him with this little slingshot, and the lies have persisted evermore. Thus, we reach the dawn of our history, some 6,000 to 7,000 years ago. The giants have disappeared, and the tales told of them and of their times are already legends. How Uranus and Saturn ate their own children. How they've personified it and made them into real people. That's interesting. How the Hebrews in Palestine found the iron bed of a king who must have been 15 feet high. How the ancient civilizations have disappeared in inconceivable cataclysms. The sinking of Atlantis. The world was littered with inexplicable and gigantic monuments. Easter Island, Karnak, Stonehenge, Menhirs, in the Pacific Islands. Most inexplicable of all are the stubborn and recurrent dreams of the human soul. All generations, and especially ours, have dreamt of a great civilization that has perished, of Atlantis and the good giants, and have had nightmares of cosmic cataclysms, of unstoppable decadence and decay, of the destruction of all human aspirations. Recent research drives us to that last hypothesis, which is so hard to accept, but which cannot be avoided. Behind all these fables is some endurable fact. In the history of the world, there are more and greater marvels than so far we have been willing to believe. I believe that. Some, the most literal, think of Atlantis as a continent sunk beneath the waves of the Atlantic Ocean. Others are willing to call Atlantis any ancient country from which all human civilization may have sprung, the birthplace of civilization. This second and more elastic interpretation would allow us to maintain that this Andean culture, some 30,000 years ago, was Atlantis. The sea, it is true, did not submerge it. Instead, it left it high and forsaken on an abandoned mountain range, but it destroyed it just as thoroughly and as completely. I never thought of it that way. Once the seas had grown quiet again, the barbarous men of Europe, who dimly remembered the ancient mother of the nations, must have tried to sail westward to find out what had happened there. Christopher Columbus was the first of them to succeed. Before that, their ships were too small, their equipment insufficient, their navigation incompetent. There was a tradition and a legend that the western continent had disappeared, that the western ocean was an uninhabited desert, that however far west one sailed, one found nothing, unless perhaps, if the Greeks were right, the happy isles where only the dead could land. Yeah, I hear that this is America's second time around this continent. It might have been Atlantis or America before. Another legend about it or something. But the story Plato tells is shorter and more precise. The cataclysm, he records, took place only some 10 or 12,000 years ago. It was caused by a flood. His Atlantis was submerged. And this Atlantis, too, is inexplicable on the basis of Horbiger's theories. Indeed, at two specific points, when and where the disaster happened, they completely corroborate Plato's narrative. His Atlantis was more modest than the Atlantis of the Andes, but nevertheless, it was a splendid and impressive one. The Andean Atlantis came to an end rather less than 30,000 years ago. From that date onwards, until it captured our present moon, the Earth had no satellite at all. Our moon was originally a small planet revolving around the sun on an orbit further out than the Earth's. Small planets pursue their diminishing spiral more quickly than do the greater ones, for their force of inertia offers less resistance than to the attraction of the sun. They retain less of that force which originally threw them away from the center. Yeah, he's saying that planets aren't orbiting. They're slowly spiraling into whatever. Well, it's kind of silly, but that's what he's trying to say here, I think. They retain less of that force which originally threw them away from the center. On their more rapid inward spiraling, therefore, they inevitably cross the paths of the larger planets, circling between themselves and the sun, and sometimes a small planet. On its inward course, approaches a bigger one too closely. So closely, in fact, that the pull of the bigger planet's gravity is stronger than that of the sun. Once that happens, the small planet is deflected from its sunwards path. It begins to circle the larger planet and becomes a satellite. Thus, according to Horbiger, our present moon was captured some 12,000 years ago. Once again, there was global calamity. The forces exerted by the newcomer were felt violently and immediately. The terrestrial globe acquired its tropical bulge for air. Even the Earth itself were attracted by lunar gravitation, as they are now. The waters from the north and south moved violently upwards towards the equator. Now, let us suppose that at some time between 30,000 and 12,000 years ago, a great civilization was established on vast plains lying between 40 and 60 degrees north of the equator. The civilization would, in turn, have been destroyed, practically overnight, under the rush of waters from the north. And this hypothesis corresponds precisely with what Plato records as fact. Farther north, age-long glaciation would have set in on lands deprived of air and water by the attracting forces of the new satellite. Two different kinds of Atlantis are thus possible. The second, much later than the first, conceivably stemming from it, indeed. To postulate that the existence of both is essential if we are to explain all the fragmentary legends dating from the remotest antiquity, which at present lie scattered all over the earth, and the echoes of other tremendous events reach us faintly from the ages. Lemuria and the Pacific, the Hyperborean continent, perhaps another primitive civilization round the South Pole, the Horbigerian conception abilities. We have by now jettisoned the 19th century idea that history exhibits a picture of slow but steady progress of life working its way upwards by a series of infinitely small but nonetheless inevitable changes. That dull through comfortable myth we have abandoned. That dull, though comfortable myth we have abandoned. The course of history seems more like a violent death and resurrection rather than a slow intermediate crawl. That's the end of the chapter of the moon. The next chapter is the solar system and the Earth, life on our planet. Well, I'm willing to, suspend disbelief just to be entertained, because you never know what kind of little nugget of knowledge you can pull out of something. I thought that was entertaining, at the least. What do you think? Let me know. Horbigerianism, I think that is like his hypothesis that all folklores are true, or something like that. Ethnology. I think that's what he's talking about. I'll have to look it up. I always look at it like this. In order to know things, you need to read them. That kind of goes without saying, but when Velikovsky and Talbot and all the great researchers in the field were doing their research, they had to do it with their interpretation of what they thought was the universe. They weren't being helped by the author at all. They were drawing their conclusions from the words in whatever way they could. And that's some... those attending. Awaken, it has reddened, dawn has set in. Already the flame-colored cock has sung. The flame-colored swallow. Already the flame-colored butterfly flies. The most popular form of the soul bird appears to have been the quetzal, the national bird of Guatemala. My friend Phil Peters, who lived for several years among the Quiche Maya of the Guatemala lowlands, recounts the story of the famous hero Ticum Umam, who lived at the time of the Spanish invasion on the plains of Zilaju. The story goes, Ticum Umam was killed by Pedro de Alvarado of Cortez's army. Then the quetzal bird that was in his headdress took flight, and since that tragic occasion, the quetzal no longer sings. What is crucial in any study hoping to comprehend such ideas is the ability of the celestial reference, the mythological archetype, to give meaning to the symbol. In the Vienna Codex Vendabenensis, the planet Venus is depicted with wing-like appendages. Can the wings of Venus, said to represent Venus' radiance or greatest brilliancy, be separated from the global myth of Venus as the soul bird? Though we cannot here stop and review countless parallels in other lands, we would be remiss if we failed to observe that the avian flight of the heart-soul is a worldwide theme. The earliest instances will be found in Mesopotamia and Egypt, where the Venus goddess Inanna, Ishtar, Isis, and Hathor, to name only the most prominent instances, all represent the soul in the form of a bird taking flight. Thus, the great god-kings, whose heart-souls were the star Venus, customarily depart in the form of a dove, partridge, or swallow, virtually universal symbols of Venus, of transformation and of departing soul. The reader will find many examples in the remaining installments. Are these widely dispersed recollections of Venus as the soul bird different from the universal myth declaring that the great king's or chief's soul appeared in the sky as a comet? Though the issue will not be resolved in a few paragraphs, cross-referencing will suggest potentially fruitful lines of inquiry. It is certainly of interest, for example, that the Babylonians employed the phrase winged star for the comet. Additionally, as we will see, it is when Venus as soul bird spreads its wings that the cometary images are the most emphatic. Feathered serpent. In our brief list of comet glyphs cited earlier, we have also listed the cosmic serpent, or dragon. And in Mexico, this fascinating theme proves to be crucial. Once the researcher has learned, Mesoamerican stargazers considered a comet to be the ascending heart soul of the great chief. I've always wondered, does Mesopotamia and Mesoamerica have any connection? You can no longer ignore the full range of related symbols. The planet Venus, the rising heart soul of Quetzalcoatl, is not just portrayed as an ember-like star or comet, not just depicted as a star with quetzal tail or comet, but is said to have taken the form of a great cosmic serpent, comet, both in Mexico and in the universal language of comet. The name Quetzalcoatl itself is simply a combination of two Nahuatl terms for the quetzal bird, known for its long, brilliant turquoise tail, and the serpent, or caudal. Thus, two of our listed 5 most common glyphs are brought together in the name of the god, and the combined hieroglyphs clearly have a long history. The earliest known version of the plumed serpent predates the Aztecs by many centuries, appearing on the monuments of the formative Olmecs. Conceptually, the avian serpent reached significantly beyond Aztec culture. The Maya, named for the same god, Kukulkan, carries an equivalent meaning.
as does the quiche figure Gukamat's. The same figure appears to have entered Zuni ritual as a plumed serpent Kalawesi and Hopi ritual as the plumed serpent Palulukan. Though the figure of Quetzalcoatl is complex and figures to combined originally distinct traditions, the identification of the spiraling serpent itself, the transformation, the transformed heart-soul with Venus, has survived even into modern times. Some of the Tzotzil groups, for example, still describe Venus as the big serpent. Among the Chichimeque tribes, Venus is still remembered as the serpent cloud. It is significant, then, that Aztec manuscripts depict a comet as a fiery serpent or dragon-like creature descending from the stars. The priest astronomers knew the comet as the star serpent. In this exploration of comet symbolism, Peter Lancaster Brown observes that the natives of Mexico represented comets by the plumed serpent depicted in various forms. But what does this say about the acknowledged identification of the plumed serpent, the planet Venus, the ascending heart, soul of Quetzalcoatl? It seems very likely that the white and bearded god who appeared in the East, associated with Quetzalcoatl, serpent god, legends of pre-Columbian Middle America, relates to the apparitions of spectacular comets in the morning sky, and not to the planet Venus, Brown writes. Here again we see an author attempting to rationalize a clearly stated Venus-comet connection, offering his own explanation. But in this instance, the explanation involves nothing less than a rewriting of the Aztec religion. For the identity of the transformed heart-soul of Quetzalcoatl as the planet Venus was an unshakable tenet of the myths and rites. With respect to Mesoamerican celestial serpents and dragons, there is also the issue of attached streamers that often look more like long flowing, spiritual locks of hair than like feathers. This unique feature is particularly significant since the disheveled mane of the celestial serpent dragon is a worldwide motif. And yet, remembering that pre-Columbian astronomy depicted the comet as both a celestial serpent and a main star, should it surprise us that the serpentine form of Venus possesses streamers suggested of long flowing hair? Of countless celestial serpents and dragons in other lands, since Venus was itself the main or long-haired star in widely dispersed cultures, the underlying integrity is undeniable. In fact, no stretch at all is needed to establish the equation of flowing mane and serpent dragon or chaos monster. The Aztec Zantemoc identified with the planet Venus, and whose name Bresser, translated as mane, was depicted as a dragon-like monster approaching the earth in periods of eclipse or universal darkness. As we will discover, every eclipse of the sun and moon became a symbol or reminder of the primeval cometary disaster and the arrival of the world-ending night. A counterpart of this chaos or eclipse demon is the Aztec Tzitzimictl, with madly disheveled hair, descending upon a darkened world. This is, of course, precisely the image of the raging comet in numerous other lands. A comet was supposed to be a tendril of the Great Mother's hair appearing in the sky, as the world was slowly overshadowed by her twilight shadow of doomsday, writes the noted student of world mythology, Barbara Walker. But the interconnected comet glyphs attached to the chaos monsters range far beyond these instances. A symbolic counterpart of this streaming hair is the enigmatic but frequently depicted beard of the Mesoamerican serpent dragon, the Aztec plumed serpent, the Mayan great bearded dragon, and numerous counterparts of these celestial monsters are distinguished by flowing beards that are every bit as preposterous
on the face of it. As their streaming manes, the reader will recall the celestial beard or bearded star in our short list of comet symbols as a logical extension of the long-haired star. Thus, the Greek pogonias, the bearded star, means comet. While a bearded serpent is a biological absurdity, the anomalous beard is immediately explained if the Venetian serpent is a long-haired star or comet. If the celestial beard did not mirror a comet-like form in the sky, then the bearded serpent is one more anomaly left unanswered, despite a consistent pattern that seems to cry out for recognition. To keep all this in perspective, it needs to be remembered that Quetzalcoatl, whose heart-soul became the plumed serpent, was himself the white and bearded god, with many counterparts spread across pre-Columbian America. One more anomaly to add to the equation. Thus, Frank Waters, surprised at the prevalence of this unusual figure among the dark-skinned natives of the New World, typified by Quetzalcoatl and the Incan Viracocha, assures us the myth was so common throughout all of pre-Columbian America that we regard it as rising from a concept in the unconscious. A relationship with the planet Venus is clear, though not without wide-ranging interpretations by the specialists. According to Thompson, the Maya described Venus as being very ugly with a heavy beard, and the Aztecs preserved a similar tradition with Ixcatl, whom most authorities identify with Venus. It was said that this beard was exceedingly long. Lastly, on the matter of flowing hair, mane, or beard of the celestial serpent or dragon, I should like to register an opinion of one additional oddity, that the Mesoamerican feline dragon. Here, too, we are dealing with an image begging for comparative study, since the outlandish merging of cat, lion, jaguar, tiger, or lynx with a celestial serpent seems to have occurred in all major cultures. Since noticing the oddity in Mesoamerica, I have noted as well the general disinterest of the specialists in accounting for such an incongruous monster.
Incongruous.
A cat and a serpent. Here, nature itself provides not a clue as to how anyone, much less skywatchers around the world, could think of the one when confronted with the other. But an analysis of this mythic creature can be advanced dramatically by the Velikovskian methodology. What one looks for is an underlying shared attribute, not of the terrestrial symbols, which offer no shared attribute, but of the celestial reference inspiring the symbols. And in this instance, there can be no doubt that it is the mane of the celestial feline figure and the twisting body or tail of the celestial serpent. While this is not the place to attempt a summary of evidence I shall present in future installments, I will supply mention the Egyptian instance of the goddess Tefnut, the eye, heart, soul of the former sun god Ra, the eye of Ra, on its departure becomes the raging Urius serpent. But in the account of the goddess Tefnut as departing eye, the raging goddess serpent is also depicted as a lion head with flaming, smoking mane. Of course, it is not one instance, but the repeated instances of such motifs that will make the case secure. I register the supposition now to prepare the way for a comparative test.
Exuhatl.
Exucatl. Throughout Mesoamerica, one will find numerous variations on the theme of celestial serpent, and just as many connections with the planet Venus. A particularly fascinating instance is the so-called fire dragon, whose name, translated literally, means turquoise dragon. Significantly, Quetzalcoatl was described as a heavenly torch. In mythology, he becomes the fiery weapon hurled by the victorious sun at his enemies, the stars, writes Brundage. Perhaps there's more here than the reader will immediately recognize. A torch or flame in the sky, only a minor variation on the smoking star, belongs to the universal comet myth. Item 3 in our list of the 5 most common comet glyphs. Moreover, as I intend to demonstrate, one of the repeated themes in the myth of the prototypical comet is that it appears as a divine weapon hurled against rebelling powers. Consider the lines of Shakespeare
In Henry VI. I.
in Henry VI. Comets, importing change of times and states, brandish your crystal tresses in the sky, and with them scourge the bad revolting stars that have consented unto Henry's death. The motifs are death of the king, celestial rebellion, and appearance of the comet as both a sign of world change, passing of world ages, and a weapon launched against the rebels. Similarly, the Aztec dragon Quetzalcoatl, the flaming serpent, appears as the fire stick wielded by the celestial hero Huitzilopochtli when the heavens were overrun by the demons of darkness. Was the comet like turquoise dragon then linked to the planet Venus? In Teotihuacan, the dragon is plainly portrayed as an overarching sky motif, a path for stellar objects. Writes Brundage, he is a plumed rattlesnake, i.e. a counterpart of the plumed serpent of Quetzalcoatl myth. He can be identified from quincunx, the 5 points that together form the emblem of the morning star that adorns him as the planet Venus. David Talbot. All right. Well, I'm going to now, before I log, I'm going to go to the chat. I'm going to say hi to all of you because I haven't been able to chat with you. And just talk to you for a bit. See what you got to say. How is everybody tonight? I see Buried Axeblade. I see John, Shan, Renegade, Naven. How you doing? John, Renegade, okay. Who else do I see? Oh, that's about it. That's talking anyway. I just wanted to say hi to everybody. I don't know, can you hear me? I hope you can. Yeah, my mic is turned up. Am I low? It looks like my level's a little low. I'll fix that. Yay! Oh, thank you, Naven. Appreciate that. We had Electric Gravity yesterday. Part 1. I'll play part 2. An electric field will transversely squash the subtron orbits with an electron or a proton. If you cause acceleration at one point in a circular orbit and a deceleration at the diametrically opposite point of the orbit, the result is an elliptical orbit. In the case of an accelerated particle, the orbit will tend to flatten in the direction of the applied force. It seems that as more energy is supplied to accelerate the particle, the more that energy is assimilated inelastically in further distortion rather than acceleration. In other words,
the electric force becomes less and less effective at acceleration, which Einstein would have us interpret as an increase in mass. For comparison, Weber's classical approach to the problem has a decrease in the electrical force and not a change in the inertial mass. This model implies that the charge centers of a proton at rest are more separated than those in an electron at rest. That allows the proton to distort more readily. Einstein would have us interpret as an increase in mass. For comparison, Weber's classical approach to the problem has a decrease in the electrical force and not a change in the inertial mass. This model implies that the charge centers of a proton at rest are more separated than those in an electron at rest. That allows the proton to distort more readily than an electron in the same electric field, and may account for their classical differences in size and mass. The advantage of this interpretation of the conversion of mass into energy and vice versa is that we are not forced to accept the increase of mass to infinity as a moving mass approaches the speed of light. What is gravity? Gravity is due to radially orientated electrostatic dipoles inside the Earth's protons, neutrons, and electrons. The force between any two aligned electrostatic dipoles varies inversely, as the fourth power of the distance between them and the combined force of similarly aligned electrostatic dipoles over a given surface is squared. The result is that the dipole-dipole force, which varies inversely as the fourth power between collinear dipoles, becomes the familiar inverse square force of gravity for extended bodies. The gravitational and inertial response of matter can be seen to be due to an identical cause. The puzzling extreme weakness of gravity, 1,000 trillion times less than the electrostatic force, that's 4 trillions, is a measure of the minute distortion of subatomic particles in a gravitational field. I thought it was 3 trillions, but he's got 4 here. The 2,000-fold difference in mass of the proton and neutron in the nucleus versus the electron means that gravity will maintain charge polarization by offsetting the nucleus within each atom. The mass of a body is an electrical variable, just like a proton in a particle accelerator. Therefore, the so-called gravitational constant, g, with the peculiar dimension L to the third m t to the second, is a variable. That is why g is so difficult to pin down. Anti-gravity. Conducting metals will shield electric fields. However, the lack of movement of electrons in response to gravity explains why we cannot shield against gravity by simply standing on a metal sheet. As an electrical engineer wrote, we don't have to worry about gravity affecting the electrons inside the wire leading to our coffee pot. If gravity is an electric dipole force between subatomic particles, it is clear that the force daisy-chains through matter regardless of whether it is conducting or non-conducting. Sansbury explains. Electrostatic dipoles within all atomic nuclei are very small, but all have a common orientation. Hence, their effect on a conducive piece of metal is less to pull the free electrons in the metal to one side, toward the center of the Earth, but to equally attract the similarly orientated electrostatic dipoles inside the nuclei and free electrons of the conductive piece of metal. This offers a clue to the reported gravity shielding effects of a spinning superconducting disk. Electrons in a superconductor exhibit a connectedness, which means that their inertia is increased. Anything that interferes with the ability of subatomic particles within the spinning disk to align their gravitationally induced dipoles with those of the Earth will exhibit anti-gravity effects. Despite a number of experiments demonstrating anti-gravity effects, no one has been able to convince scientists attached to general relativity that they have been able to modify gravity. This seems to be a case of turning a blind eye to unwelcome evidence. Support for anti-gravity implicitly undermines Einstein's theory. What do you think them scientists who build them TR-3Bs are thinking? You think they follow Einstein? I highly doubt it. They're plasma physicists. Instantaneous gravity. A significant fact usually overlooked is that Newton's law of gravity does not involve time. This raises problems for any conventional application of electromagnetic theory to the gravitational force between two bodies in space. Since electromagnetic signals are restricted to the speed of light, gravity must act instantly for the planets to orbit the Sun in a stable fashion. If the Earth were attracted to where the Sun appears in the sky, it would be orbiting a largely empty space because the Sun moves on in the 8.3 minutes it takes for the sunlight to reach the Earth. If gravity operated at the speed of light, all planets would experience a torque that would sling them out of the solar system in a few thousand years. Clearly, that doesn't happen. This supports the view that the electric force operates at a near infinite speed on our cosmic scale, as it must inside the electron. It is a significant simplification of all the torturous theorizing that has gone into the nature of gravity and mass. Einstein's postulates are wrong. Matter has no effect on empty space. Space is three-dimensional, something our senses tell us. There is a universal clock, so time travel and variable aging is impossible, something that common sense has always told us. But most important, the universe is connected and coherent. Every time I hear someone mention time travel, I know that they're talking out of their butt. A real nature of light. However, it leaves the question of what the speed of light means. This is where I part company with Sansbury and others who explain it in terms of a delayed response to an instantaneous signal. In Wall's view, the crucial difference between the near-infinite speed of the electric force and the relative dawdle of light on any cosmic scale is that the electric force is longitudinal, while light is an oscillating transverse signal moving slowly through a medium. See, I think light emits, and the atoms or the ether just carry that emission. But who am I? Nobody really. If I can use a simple analogy, light travels slowly, like the transverse ripples on a pond surface. Gravity travels swiftly and longitudinally, like the speed of sound in water. Once again, this is at odds with Einstein's metaphysics, because it reinstates Maxwell's ether. Maxwell's electromagnetic theory requires a medium. How can you wave nothing? The Michelson-Morley basement experiment was heralded as having lain to rest the notion of an ether. It didn't. Dayton Miller carried out far more rigorous repeats of that experiment at different locations and elevations. He found a residual which allowed him to conclude that ponderable bodies like the Earth drag the ether with them. He was able to determine the relative motion of the solar system with respect to the ether. Oh, that's cool. They drag the ether with them. See, I always wonder, are we immersed in the ether and going through it, or are we traveling with it? This is saying that the Earth drags the ether with it. Others and I have argued that a plenum of neutrinos forms the ether. Based upon nuclear experiments, I have also proposed that neutrinos are the most collapsed, lowest energy state of matter. In other words, they exhibit vanishingly small mass. However, being normal matter composed of subtrons, they are capable of forming electric dipoles in an oscillating electromagnetic field. A neutrino must rotate through 360 degrees per cycle. That would link the speed of light in a vacuum to the moment of inertia of a neutrino. Having some mass, neutrinos must be dragged along by gravitating bodies. They form a kind of extended atmosphere which will bend light. It has nothing to do with a metaphysical warping of space. My thoughts were always like, I don't really think there are different kinds of light. Maybe there are. But if you shine a flashlight up into the sky and you shut it off, that light doesn't keep traveling. It disperses. So my idea was that light emits, and the atoms that are in between carry that emission. But when you shut it off, it quits. But like I said, I'm just Joe Schmo, the Buckamo. I'm not a scientist. But doesn't that make sense? Watch some guy win a Nobel Prize with that theory. The electric universe. The confusion about any role for electricity and celestial dynamics has come about because of our ignorance of the electrical nature of matter and of gravity. The classical signposts to an understanding of gravity were in place at the beginning of the 20th century. But after the terrible world wars, it seems people were looking for heroes with a new vision. Einstein became an overnight idol of genius, not by accident. And his geometric metaphysics, the new fashion in science. I added that part. The dedication, the not by accident part. The dedication to the Einstein myth. The dedication to the Einstein myth has become so entrenched that to say the emperor has no clothes invites ridicule. But over almost a century, there has been an astronomical price to pay for unquestioning adherence to dogma. A recent review of the history of astronomy concludes, the inability of researchers to rid themselves of earlier ideas led to centuries of stagnation, an incredible series of deliberate oversights, indefensible verbal evasions, myopia, and plain pig-headedness characterize the pedestrian progress along this elusive road for science. We must be constantly on our guard, critically examining all the hidden assumptions in our work. We must be constantly on our guard, critically examining all the hidden assumptions in our work. Since scientists have demonstrated their inability to do this, the public must be made aware how science actually operates and is protected from scrutiny. It will require the kind of fearless investigative journalism we often see in politics. I think fearless investigative journalism is dead unless you come to the internet. You certainly don't see it in mainstream. But he's right. Unfortunately, science reporters are part of the problem. If they bow to the expert and the lazy dissemination of academic propaganda, ultimately cosmology must have no loose ends. The electric universe model is an attempt to connect many strands of knowledge. Proposals that eventually pan out in the world are far more likely to exhibit narrative consistency. Perhaps what Edward O. Wilson calls consilience in his book of that name. The goal of consilience is to achieve progressive unification of all strands of knowledge in service to the indefinite betterment of the human condition.
Consilience.
No matter that there is an avalanche of books and papers supporting Big Bang cosmology, repetition provides no assurance that one particular interpretation of results is valid. Assurance of interpretation can come only by comparing the success of competing hypotheses in interpreting data from disparate areas. Big Bang cosmology fails this test because it brooks no competition. For example, plasma cosmology is officially recognized by the largest professional organization in the world, the Institute of Electrical and Electronic Engineers, the IEEE, while Big Bang cosmologists ignore it. The electric universe model is an extension of plasma cosmology. It is based on the concepts derived from observations as disparate as petroglyphs and quasar redshift. Big Bang cosmologists have no narrative that can compete, but by simple act of ignoring alternatives, they reject them. If the public simply acquiesce and do not speak up.
Acquiesce.
If the public simply acquiesce and do not speak up. Wall Thornhill. And he's got a whole boodle of references here. I'll just toss them into the video.
Forward. Now, my own suspicion is that the universe is not only queerer than we suppose, but queerer than we can suppose. These are familiar words. They were written by the British geneticist J.B.S. Haldane, 1892 to 1964. Although from time to time they attributed to Sir Arthur Eddington, the British cosmologist, and a contemporary, perhaps, because they reflect Eddington's sentiments as well as Haldane's suspicions. But it was Haldane who committed them to print in his thoughtful book, Possible Worlds and Other Essays, 1927. The title essay of that collection addresses the relationship between public acknowledged and personal conviction. I've seen Velikovsky's name in here, so that makes me want to read the foreword. This is one of the reasons why the data of the mystical consciousness can usefully supplement those of the mind in its normal state. Now, my own suspicion is that the universe is not only queerer than we suppose, but queerer than we can suppose, a word that does not get used very much anymore. I have read and heard many attempts at a systematic account of it, from materialism and theosophy to the Christian system or that of Kant, and I have always felt that they were much too simple. I suspect that there are more things in heaven and earth than can be dreamed of, or can be dreamed of, than are dreamed of, and can be dreamed of. I lost my place. Okay. In any philosophy. That is the reason why I have no philosophy myself, and must be my excuse for dreaming. I kind of concur with that. Haldane approached this subject in the same spirit that Prince Hamlet raised it with his friend Horatio. For the concluding words of this remarkable essay, paraphrase the speech in Hamlet. In the absence of any philosophy, Haldane gives expression to his suspicion, or his dreaming, and his flights of fancy or imagination bring to mind the flying carpet that appears in Arabian Nights. You never see that anymore, do you? I remember when I was a kid, you saw it all the time. With its magical propulsion system, which demonstrates electricity, what has been called cartoon physics, whereby characters in comic books and animated cartoons are able to race right off the edges of cliffs and continue to run unsupported in midair until such a time as they look down, when they immediately plummet to earth below, where they land with a life-affirming thump. Like the human imagination, such systems are powerful enough to defy danger and death and transport us not only around the world, but also across all space and all time to witness the genesis of the stars, the generation of the galaxies, the formation of the planets, including Earth, the evolution of forms of life, geological epochs so remote from us that whatever ideas we once entertained about the solar system in its youth or about the planet Earth in its infancy were derived from theory and conjecture, from deduction and induction, as well as from a system of extrapolation based on principles of the hard sciences, physics, chemistry, biology, paleontology, and astronomy. And sadly for us, they left out electrical engineering. Those, in turn, are augmented by the findings of the soft sciences, disciplines like archaeology, anthropology, ethnology, sociology, psychology, psychiatry, theology, philosophy, metaphysics, mythology, history, folklore, and literature. Drink of water. Elsewhere, in an essay on the questionable history of the Holy Grail in early Canada, I introduced the neologism rehistorian to refer to the writer or scholar who is able to assemble in unequal measure both the hard facts of science and the soft findings of those other disciplines, in order to transport the human spirit and imagination and hence conjecture beyond the fields we know. The rehistorian is necessarily an associative thinker and a generalist, as distinct from the historian or scholar proper, who is by training a systematic thinker and specialist. The former is a lumper. The latter is a splitter. Rehistorians make fresh starts. Historians mark continuities. Both the synthesizer and the analyst add to the sum of the human knowledge. The record of nature through countless ages, and the arts of man through all the years. Following the inscriptions that flank the grand entranceway to the Toronto's Royal Ontario Museum, whereas the historian sticks to a scientific record, the rehistorian has at his or her disposal a wealth of intuitions and insights gleaned from mythology, legend, lore, tradition, psychology, literature, and the popular imagination, to expand the imaginative inventory of nature's actualities and man's possibilities. It must be added that the rehistorian introduces elements that are less than scientific and barely scholarly. The rehistorian takes the popular view that science does not know all things. Theories come and go. Scientists have vested interests. Anomalies mean more than regularities. And the establishment is engaged in a cover-up, even back then, if not a widespread conspiracy, to suppress dissident thinking and the truth of it all. Highly suspect in his eyes are the science and scholarship in the mainstream, the skepticism of the rehistorian is focused on common or accepted knowledge that is part and parcel of the received wisdom, rather than on the abnormalities, deviations, or irregularities of data. Novel and untested surmises are preferred to data and fact. Grand designs are expected to compete with tried and true ideas from the past. The soul of man is the heart and core of rehistory. Such is the thinking of the rehistorian. Such is the thought that is called Fortean, a reference to Charles Fort, 1896 to 1971, American researcher and writer who devoted his waking hours to scouring the world's press for accounts of acts and facts that were in their day regarded as breaking laws, resisting the rules, and defying the odds. He called such incidents the oddities, the damned, the excluded, or the datum, and he embraced them and felt he had to do so because they were so arrogantly and arbitrarily, that's a hard word to say, arbitrarily dismissed by dogmatic science and scientists. Haldane, as an orthodox biologist, would probably have little more or no time at all for the fort. Yet, had he been familiar with Forteanism, he would have been intrigued with Fort's willingness to entertain ideas that are, by their very nature, implausible, when not irrational. Indeed, administrators of the Fortean Society proposed that Haldane be an honorary founder. It is not recorded that he accepted the honor, if he knew of it. Had he done so, he would have been right at home in the society, for his own writings finger the fringes of the broadcloth of Forteanism. I think that's how it's pronounced. That also is where Dennis Surratt, as a thoroughgoing rehistorian, may be found, on the Fortean fringe. Though going Forteanism is a thing of the past, though one of the Fort's principles, well, it's making a comeback, I think, is that history repeats itself, or at least man does. Indeed, Fort's ideas lurk in unlikely places, as for the otherwise baffling movie Magnolia, 1999. I never saw it. Its title suggests, in the fashion of the anagram, the spirit of high strangeness connected with Magonia. The fall of frogs at the end of the movie is a trope in the Fortean universe. It is a stretch to claim that the spirit of Fort lives on in the theories of postmodernism. Why not? Interestingly, the term postmodernism was introduced by Fort, but was introduced not by Fort, but by English critic Bernard Eidings Bell, author of Postmodernism and Other Essays, 1926. Early use of the word, with a hyphen, was made by Dennis Surratt in an article, French Literature of 2-Day, which appeared in a British weekly, The Listener, October 28, 1931. There, Surratt referred to a literary work in which the values are definitely anti-modern, postmodern. Indeed, postmodernism as a philosophical and aesthetic movement goes against the modernist grain. As it does so, it knocks down the 10 pens of cause and effect. Fort and Surratt and even Haldane would have enjoyed the spectacle. The postmodern movement is comfortable with the twin notions of speculative fiction and speculative non-fiction. Drink. Are you kidding? I'm out of water already? Okay. Introduced by SF author Robert A. Heinlein, it to describe in words of Peter Nichols in the Encyclopedia of Science Fiction, 1993, a subset involving extrapolation from known science and technology to produce a new situation, a new framework for human action. The term was subsequently extensively employed by the SF author Judith Merrill in place of the label science fiction to refer to that kind of sociological SF which concentrates on social change. And the two texts included in Early Earth are eccentric, strange, questionable, and unconventional. I want to get to the part where he brings up Velikovsky. How did this state of affairs come about? Why would a respectable academic like Surratt take it upon himself to step outside his areas of competence and address the subject of the prehistory of the planet Earth and the early Earthlings? Surratt lived from 1890 to 1958. Spectacular is the adjective to describe the writings of Immanuel Velikovsky, 1895 to 1979, a Russian Jewish physician, psychoanalyst, and planetary science theorist. The drama of his books is not limited to their subject matter. The burst of a new satellite from the body of an old planet, or bound to a style of writing so breathless, so cliff-hanging, or hobbled by their implications, archaeological records, cultural amnesia, or restricted to their reception, scientists pressing their publisher to suppress them. The books abound in all of these. The best-known titles are the earliest, namely Worlds in Collision, 1950, Ages in Chaos, 1952, Earth in Upheaval, 1955. Why, they were probably known to Surratt. The works of Bellamy and others were not notable sellers. They generated little or no academic controversy. Velikovsky's works, like those of Ignatius Donnelly, the U.S. Senator who wrote on Atlantis and Ragnarok, had an immense influence in their day. The popularity of Velikovsky's books was aided and abetted by the decision of a group of scientific authors to boycott Macmillan, their publisher. If it persisted in listing Velikovsky's books in its catalog. Macmillan succumbed to the pressure of censorship. Another publisher, Doubleday, eager to step in, turned these books into bestsellers. Velikovsky always maintained his critics attacked him and not his theories, which he believed were testable, yet never tested. but when they were examined critically by specialists, they were found wanting. For instance, there is Carl Sagan's notable essay, Venus and Dr. Velikovsky. Oh, yeah, it was Venus, super gas house. That's just so ridiculous. In Baca's brain, of a masterpiece, it is a masterpiece of even-handed appreciation and scientific examination. Sagan observes that Velikovsky is a writer who works on not one level, but two levels. Velikovsky has called attention to a wide range of stories and legends held by diverse peoples, separated by great distances, which stories show remarkable similarities and concordances. I am not expert in the cultures or languages of any of these peoples, but I find the concentration of legends Velikovsky has accumulated stunning. It is true that some experts in these cultures are less impressed. I can remember vividly discussing Worlds in Collision with a distinguished professor of Semitics at a leading university. He said something like, the Assyriology, Egyptology, biblical scholarship, and all of that Talmudic and Midrashic pill is, of course, nonsense. But I was impressed by the astronomy. I had rather the opposite view. I don't quite understand that, really. I mean, if he was impressed by the astronomy, that's all right. The literary section of these books appealed to the astronomers, while the astronomical parts appealed to literary scholars. But the literary scholars dismissed the literary sections just as the astronomers dismissed the astronomical parts. Bullshit. Sagan went on to suggest one of the reasons why, in general, the scientific community shied away from devoting time discussing fringe science. Fringe science. See, that's what I mean. Doesn't it just make you mad? Fringe science. It's common sense, you idiot. To the extent that scientists have not given Velikovsky the reasoned response his work calls for, we have ourselves been responsible for the propagation of Velikovskyan confusion. But scientists cannot deal with all the areas of borderline science. The thinking, calculations, and preparation in the chapter, for example, took badly needed time away from my own research, but it was certainly not boring. And at the very least, I had a brush with many an enjoyable legend. Well, Velikovsky, man, he slaughtered them all. And this guy just doesn't get it. Because if he did, he'd see that. That makes me mad. What else does he say here? Well, he started out right, saying that they're engaged in a big conspiracy. They're stifling the truth. We know that's true. Well, anyways, this is some guy writing. He's doing the foreword for this guy's book. It's not even him. He's
realize your feelings change. Spent my whole
I am here. I think I might be the only one here.
As love goes, you never gave anything.
I love it.
That was done by me. You'll never know misery. That I suffer. You're someone I don't even know. I guess you're not amused with me anymore. I would crawl through broken glass beds just to be by your side.